welcome to a 10-1-10-1 review. My name is Nessa and today I'll be talking about Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar and how I felt after playing the game for 10 minutes, 1 hour, 10 hours, and 1 year in-game. As a person who does not have a lot of time to play games, I think that first impressions are important and the first 10 minutes to an hour of a game should give you the basic rundown of what the game has to offer. That being said, I also know that farming and life simulation games and overall cozy games might need some time to shine, which is why I think it's important to review the game at 10 hours and after a year in-game. How I feel at the 1 hour mark might change at 10 hours, and that could drastically change again after I've gone through an entire year in-game. I won't be rating Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar on a scale, but I'll definitely talk about the things that I liked and the things that I wished it did differently. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar was developed by Marvelous Inc. and released on August 27, 2025. This game is a remake of the Harvest Moon DS Grand Bazaar game released on December 18, 2008. In this game, you are a farmer who moves to the idealistic Zephyr town to start a new life here as you farm, raise animals, befriend and romance the locals, and utilize the windmills to craft and produce items that you can sell at the bazaar on Saturdays. This game is available on PC and Nintendo Switch systems. It retails for $49.99 USD on the PC and Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch 2 version retails for $59.99 USD. If you have the Nintendo Switch version, you can upgrade it to the Nintendo Switch 2 version for $10 USD. I played this game exclusively on the Switch 2, so any discussion regarding performance, bugs, or graphics is based solely on the Switch 2 version of the game. You might get a different experience on PC or the Nintendo Switch. You are a farmer who moves to Zephyr Town at the request of the mayor, who's trying to revitalize the local bazaar to its former glory. Seems like your predecessor farmer was an integral part to the bazaar's successes before they left, so now the mayor is depending on you. The main story is pretty standard and just depends on you meeting goals to increase the rank of the bazaar by hitting selling quotas and helping new vendors set up their stalls. At the time of this review, my bazaar is ranked 6 out of 7 possible ranks there are, and I have not finished the main story. Right away, I knew this game was going to be something special when it asked whether I wanted to turn on 2D portraits or not. I know this was a point of contention in a previous Story of Seasons game, Pioneers of Olive Town, where the game took away 2D portraits that were available in previous iterations and wanted to rely on 3D models and emojis to show feelings on the NPCs. However, in Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar already, the 2D portraits were back and the 3D models were great at showing what the characters were feeling, so I was very ecstatic that I could get both. I created my character, named my farm, and chose my birthday before starting my move to Zephyr Town. The customization options were varied, and I like that you had the freedom to choose what your body type is and what your voice sounds like without any restrictions. You can also choose your preferred pronouns and whether you want some extra details such as facial hair, moles, or whether you wanted to wear a hat or not. The beginning cutscene and voice acting pleasantly surprised me since the production value definitely improved in this game compared to previous titles. You can see the production in the cutscenes with the changing camera angles, and I love that the game showcased the romanceables as your character explores the town in this beautiful cutscene before jumping right into the first tutorial of running the bazaar stall. The gameplay for the stall seems pretty similar to how it works in the original Harvest Moon Grand Bazaar game, where you have a limited number of slots in your stall to sell items, but you can switch out new items whenever you want, and you ring your bell to attract customers, serving them when they make their choice. The nostalgia hit me super hard during this 10 minutes, and I had a blast getting reacquainted with Zephyr Town. The beginning already was such a big upgrade from anything that Story of Seasons have done so far, so I was very excited to jump in and see what this game had to offer. 1 hour, I made it to the 3rd day in-game. Every day, someone would wake me up and give me a short tutorial on something new. On the first day, the mayor, Felix, came by to teach me how to farm, and I actually like that he has unique dialogue if you tell him that you already know how to farm versus if you choose the tutorial option. The game does overwhelm you with pop-up tutorials one after another if you choose the veteran option, with probably the intention that you'll skip through it or read the ones that you need a refresher on. If you choose the option to have Felix teach you how to farm, each step of the farming mechanic is introduced during that tutorial, so you're not bombarded with everything at once. I love that they brought back the mechanic of being able to jump in the air to perform a powered up version of the tool. In the games, you would hold down an action button to charge up your tools, but in this one, you jump instead. Right away, I already had access to tilling, sowing, watering, and harvesting 3 tiles at once, which made farming less tedious than starting out in other farming sims. In the hour, I also received the hatchet, which performs the function of both the axe and the pickaxe, effectively combining the 2 tools into one. I love this, and I think that more games should do it since it saves on so much space and time switching tools. So far, the farming does not deviate too much from past iterations of story season games, with the exception of the jumping in order to activate your tool's abilities and secret powers that you've learned from the mayor, such as harvesting more than 3 crops at once. You do have the choice of watering your plants once a day or twice a day, which does affect the speed in which your crops grow slightly. However, the basic mechanic of sowing seeds, watering them daily, and harvesting them when they're ready remains the same. This game, more so than others, really focuses on star levels of items and freshness. Star levels indicate how quality the item is, with 0.5 stars being the minimum and 5 stars being the maximum, unless you have award-winning crops and animals, which can break the maximum to go a little higher. Freshness is attributed to only some items and not others. Crops and fish and cooked dishes, for examples, will have freshness, while ords and woods will not. Freshness decreases in the game and can be staved off by expanding your storage capabilities to retain freshness, or using the items as an ingredient to make other items, such as pickle varieties or cooked dishes. Both star levels and freshness impact the sale price of items, as higher star ranking and fresher items will sell for more than lower star ranking and less fresh items. Another important change that the game has from other story season and farming sims is that there's no shipping bin on your farm to ship items daily. This is the same from the DS version of Grand Bazaar, as the game wants you to sell your items at the bazaar every Saturday. You can sell your items to the shop during the week if you need money. However, it is at a greatly reduced price than what you would have gone from selling it from your own stall. So it's always recommended to hoard a bunch of items in your storage and then sell them at the bazaar on Saturdays to make money. I do like this encouragement to use the bazaar mechanic in the game, as it forces you to think differently on how you approach making money. The bazaar inventory is also limited, so you have to prioritize what you want to sell and what would make you the maximum amount of profits versus what you want to get rid of because your storage space is full or the item's freshness is deteriorating. Overall, I didn't get too much done in the 3 days that I had with the game. However, I was incredibly impressed with the direction that the game was going, and I couldn't wait to see how the gameplay loop would be like after going through a week and integrating the bazaar aspect to it. The game felt really fun to play right now, and I had no problems continuing into the next few hours. Pretty much blinked and suddenly I was at the 3rd festival, which was a tea party by the 10-hour mark. I was still making my way through spring, so even after 10 hours, it seemed as though I barely scratched the surface of the game. For now, the gameplay loop was pretty solid for me. I would farm and harvest things that I could sell at the bazaar, or use ingredients to make other products that I could sell at the bazaar. After doing my morning and afternoon shifts on Saturdays, I would use the money to buy upgrades for my storage, expansion, more seeds, and even animals for my farm. Then the loop would reset and I would do it all over again for the week. It's quite a simple loop, but pretty fun to do, as I loved hoarding items that I could sell and then watching all of my hard work accumulate as money that I could spend. Somewhere between 1 hour and 10 hours, I unlocked the ability to start using my red windmill on the farm, which turns items into more refined items. Windmills are a big factor in this game because of their ability to produce items that you cannot buy anywhere else, such as turning your high quality crops into seeds and upgrading your tools to a higher level, which increases their range whenever you use them. There are 3 windmills in Zephyr Town, and they each have specializations in what they produce, with the red one being the first and only one that I had unlocked in the 10 hours of play. At the 10-hour mark, I expanded my fields once and was on my way to ranking my bazaar up for the 2nd time after finishing quests to unlock 3 more vendor stalls. I unlocked the nature sprites and the ability to use the glider, alongside a double jump technique that I bought from the mayor's bazaar stall. Traveling around town was way easier now, especially on windy days. Wind is such a big factor in this game, as evidenced by the whole town being named Zephyr and relying on windmill power and all that. Each day you'll see how strong the wind is, and this affects your glide speed and how fast windmills will process their queue. Days that are not as windy will have have the windmills take longer to process items, and you won't be able to glide as far or as fast as on a windy day. The nature sprites also serve additional purposes in the game, and I really like how they were integrated. There are 5 different nature sprites that all specialize in specific items and can increase the star levels of those items if you give some to them, which includes forageables such as ores, flowers, and wood, mushrooms, which have their own category independent of the forageables, fish, critters, and honey. For example, if you give Finley enough fish and get to a certain level, all fish that you catch from that point on will be at a higher star level. This is super important for sales price and quality of items, so there's a lot of grinding that you'll have to do depending on whether you care about the star quality of that item. The nature sprites also run a booth at the Bazaar to sell you magical boxes where you can access your storage at different points in town, and this is great to offload items without having to run back to your farm every single time your inventory is full. These boxes later can also be upgraded to serve as return home warp points, so you can hop in one and go back to your farm in a second. Unfortunately, they do not work both ways based on my experience at the time of this review, so you can only go home but you cannot return to the same warp point. Lastly, the nature sprites can help you sell items quickly at your bazaar when you fill up their meter. They all have different effects, which includes increasing the price of items, having customers buy in bulk, or increasing the freshness, to name a few, and you can decide whether to call upon a few of them or fill up the entire meter to call on all 5 of them during this cheering frenzy event. During the frenzy, you don't have to restock your counters as customers will buy anything that you have in your stall inventory, so it's a great hurrah to get items sold fast before the bazaar hours end. In the 10 hours, I was also busy making friends with the locals by gifting them daily and talking to them, as is traditional method of making friends in a story of season game. Based on whether you are talking to a romanceable NPC or regular NPC, their heart colors are different to make the distinction. Romanceable hearts will change colors depending on how close you get to that person, while regular NPC heart colors will remain the same regardless of their relationship with you. This game does introduce a different relationship mechanic. At certain points in your relationship with an NPC, their heart level will be locked and cannot increase any farther until you complete their request. Some of the things that they want could include finding a lost item or giving them a specific one in a specific star level. Upon fulfilling the request, their heart level will be unlocked again, and you can continue to raise it as normal until the next time that they have another request. I think that the heart levels do increase despite being locked, however, you're just not able to see the increase while it is locked. I've had individuals whose heart levels were locked for quite some time, and then after finally finishing the request, they're about the heart level I would expect them to be if I were gifting them or talking to them daily. I haven't 100% confirmed this, however, so I definitely would recommend trying to complete their request as soon as possible if you're trying to romance them, or even if you don't want them to mention the request every single time that you talk to them. As 10 hours barely scratched the surface of my experience in game, I definitely was still fresh and eager to continue playing to see what the other seasons had to offer. I felt as though I was finally out of the tutorial and was farming on my own, getting used to the gameplay loop and just living my life in Zephyr Town. I made it back to spring after 46 hours and 50 minutes of playing. I've witnessed most of the romanceable confessions at this point and was in a good spot to get married as year 2 rolled around. This game does not allow you to get married in the first year, so it's definitely one of those things that I'm looking forward to doing right away. I've upgraded my storage plenty of times, but I haven't maxed out on the upgrades yet. I've expanded my pastures and opened up a second barn, as well as unlocked 2 additional fields to grow crops. I've won multiple bronze rank festivals and even a silver one with my dog. However, no gold rank festivals have been entered as of this time, so there's definitely that to look forward to as well. Overall, the first year doesn't feel like I've accomplished too many things just yet, and this is definitely one of those games where you want to play for at least 2 years to get the full experience, in my opinion. However, now that I've spent a year in-game, here are some things that I liked and things that I wish the game did differently. This game really stepped up the visuals for a Story Seasons game, and the cutscenes are exponentially better than the previous games. You have fancy camera angles and full voice acting, which makes the cutscenes just a spectacle to watch. I swear, I took so many screenshots of every cutscene because I was having such a good time watching them. The quality of the cutscenes and visuals really makes me so excited for the future of Story Seasons games, since they really pulled out all the stops for this remake. I really like that you start off with the ability to jump, and you're able to target a row of 3 right from the beginning, beginning. Farming games can be so slow in the beginning as you're tilling, sowing, watering, and harvesting one tile at a time, so it's nice to be able to farm in a quicker manner right from the start. I think that more games should adopt this approach as it makes the beginning stages of farming feel less grueling to the player. I like the quality of life changes that the game has made from the original version. For example, the bell is no longer an item that takes inventory space, but rather a button that you can use at any time you want. As I mentioned earlier, I also love the combination of the axe and the pickaxe into the hatchet, which saves space in your inventory and doesn't require you to switch to a different tool in order to chop wood or mine ores. Another example is training your pet mechanic. You no longer have to throw a dog bone or cat bell for your animals to level up their training point, but rather you play a minigame that involves correctly pressing the right buttons in order to level up the training points. And these are just some of the changes that I wanted to highlight, but there are definitely a lot more, and that would be a whole nother video in its own right. These little quality of life changes really made the experience so much better when added up. I really like that there's an indicator that pops up on your map when conditions for an event are met, and you can view it. In older Harvest Moon and Story Season games, and also other farming sim games, you have to chance upon special events, and that can mean taking a long time to trigger because the condition is not fulfilled, such as weather and time of day, and you're not sure when they're available. In this game, a little exclamation point will pop up and alert you so you can run over to view the event right away. It will let you know where the person is, which is always a great feature to have on the map, and what kind of event it is. This made it really easy for me to ensure that I didn't miss anyone's events, since there are some of them that I would not even think about visiting the person during that time. I think that during one of them, someone wanted to see me at night, and I'm usually back at my farm or heading to bed during that time. I love the ability to craft your clothes in this game. The clothes all look pretty good, and getting one of the rare outfits makes me feel pretty accomplished. Focused a lot on getting my forageables to 5-star ranking as soon as possible, and I still think this is the way to go in order to save yourself some storage space eventually and also get higher quality fertilizer. In this game, you can literally uproot your fruit trees and move them somewhere else or stick them in your storage if you want. This is great for clearing up space in your fields when the seasons change and the tree no longer produces fruit in that season. The game does tell you this quite early through a pop-up tutorial. However, I did promptly forget about it until I actually had fruit trees, so this really saved me a lot of space on my fields. No matter how much storage I have, it always fills up extremely quickly due to all the different star quality of items. This is especially egregious for animal products, as during my playthrough, I had a variety of different animals in different friendship stages, which resulted in different quality animal products. You're only able to buy animals that are in stock during Bazaar days, so there's no real way to get around this. Currently, I have 4 chickens in various stages, and that means 4 different inventory spaces filled with different star quality eggs. If I want to process any of the eggs in the windmill, it would take 4 different queue spaces because the products cannot be combined due to the star quality level. I'm still expanding my storage space, and eventually this won't be too much of an issue anymore as my animals max out in their affection. However, during the first year in particular, this issue was felt very deeply. I really wish that once you're able to level up your seeds to certain star ranks, then you can purchase the same star rank seeds at the Bazaar. Towards the end of my playthrough, while I'm trying to store up 5-star seeds, I found it pretty tedious to have to use the windmill to make them so that I can keep my star rank when I plant the next batch of crops. I'm not a big fan of the fishing minigame. It feels pretty tedious compared to the old version where you wait for a fish to bite and then you pull it up. Now you have to complete a whole minigame that involves correctly matching the arrows on screen. Depending on how rare the fish is, there are more correct inputs that you would have to complete to catch it. I always dreaded getting the rare fish since they took a lot more time and effort, and the direction changes are a little slow for me, so I felt it was wasting my precious time that I had to catch the fish. Although there is a special technique that you can learn to pull in the fish faster, I found that it did not trigger enough for me to want to fish as often. At this point in time, I was using the golden fishing rod, so I felt like the chance of the technique triggering might be a little low and that it would be more frequent at a higher upgrade. However, I don't think that it would change my view of the fishing minigame if I did get that higher upgrade, since I've already maxed out my fishing star bank, and I don't anticipate fishing as often since it was just so tedious for me. This is definitely my favorite remake that Marvelous has done so far for Story of Seasons. I played the other two remakes, A Wonderful Life and Friends of Mineral Town, and I felt like those two games did not deviate or added too much from their respective remake titles. I was left a little disappointed that they were pretty faithful copies with minor changes, albeit with major graphical updates. This one actually felt like an enhanced version that I can strongly recommend over the original. The graphics are gorgeous and the voice cutscenes are already leagues ahead of the other remakes. Coupled in with the various quality of life improvements in the game, there's no doubt that this is a game that I will keep playing. Just from the time that I wrote this review script to now, I definitely have added an additional 10 to 15 hours of play, and I've gotten married and I am well into my second year already. I think this game is for you if you want a traditional farming simulation game with the added feature of the Bazaar. If you played farming simulation games already, you'll definitely appreciate the quality of life improvements that were added to this one. And if you're super into the romance side of these games like I am, then the cutscenes and production will make you quite happy. This game might not be for you if you're not a fan of having to grind in a farming simulation game, since you do have to do that a fair amount in this game to increase your star level. If you're not interested in the Bazaar mechanic, it is possible to sell your items to the shop. However, you won't be able to progress in the main story or unlock more stalls that could help make your farming endeavors easier. If you're looking for more of an in-depth selling mechanic and a shop simulation game, then this game might not also be for you, since the Bazaar mechanic is pretty simplistic compared to other shop simulations. Well, there you have it. What do you think of Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar? Who is your favorite animal from the game and why is it the sheep? If you like what I do and you want to see more, then please consider liking and subscribing to my channel for more content like this. As you may or may not know, I try to get a 10-1-10-1 review out every 2 to 3 months if possible, and even monthly depending on what game I'm working on. If you have a game that you want me to play and review in this format, please let me know in the comments and I'll consider it. With that, I have been Nessa, and I'm going back to Zephyr Town right away. Take care. I'll see you in the next 10-1-10-1.